Hey all, there's been a question that I was ruminating or thinking about recently, a question that you've all heard many, many times in life, and it's simply this question: are you a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? And the implication under it is, are you an optimist who sees the good side of things or a pessimist who sees the negative side of things? And of course, we've nuanced that in more recent years, saying, well, I'm not either of those, I'm a realist. But what I've noticed, and I see this with the negativity in media or looking over social media, is that the proportion of people in these two camps is not the same. I'm on some Facebook groups, some places where people can post about stuff, and it's amazing to me that the ratio of angry, negative complaints and comments is 10 to 1 bigger than people who are positive or about things. And you know people like this. They could go on a vacation to this amazing place, but when they come back, the first stories you hear are about all the things that went wrong, the things that didn't go right, the problems they had. And maybe those are some good stories, but sometimes you wonder if they even had a good time at all. And so this whole idea of are you a glass half full, glass empty kind of person implies that that's just who we are. It's how we're wired to be. But in reality, I wonder if we've gotten the question wrong, because I think the question more appropriately should be, have you chosen to be a glass half full or glass half empty kind of person? It's a choice. We decide whether we see the world that way. And I understand there are some people that are more analytical than others. They think things through. They look at all the details. That's fine. And I want to put aside this whole idea that people do struggle with depression, because that's a whole issue in itself. But generally speaking, we choose whether or not to live lives that are positive and grateful or negative and angry. The writers of the scriptures knew all this. They wrote repeatedly that we're supposed to lean into gratefulness, to gratitude, to being thankful, that it's something we choose to do regardless of our circumstances. There's a very interesting verse in Habakkuk, a little book in the Old Testament, a prophet that wrote, that's very interesting. And there's this little passage in it that I wonder, that always strikes me very strongly, and wonder if we could be those kind of people. Let me read it for you, because it's in Habakkuk chapter 3. And at one point, he's talking and he says this. He says, though the fig tree does not bud and there's no grapes on the vine, though the olive crop fails and the fields produce no food, though there are no sheep in the pen and no cattle in the stalls. In other words, if all of our livelihood goes south, if our circumstances are terrible and nothing's going on, yet I will rejoice in the Lord, and I will be joyful in God my Savior. I wonder how many of us could do that if our circumstances were like that. See, he knew that it is a choice to decide whether or not we want to live an intentionally joyful life. Now, this takes practice. It takes time. It doesn't happen naturally. And especially if you're a person who kind of runs to the analyzing the negative first, you might have to repeat this over and over. But I wonder what would happen if we chose each day to say, I'm going to look at the positive, the parts that God is at work, the things that I have to be thankful for. And if there's none of those in my circumstances, if my circumstances are so bad that I can't find anything good in them, and I don't think that happens very often, I can still be thankful that I serve a God who's good. The interesting thing is that if you do all this, your life actually gets better. You will be a more joyful person, a more happy person, because you've chosen that way to live. And what's cool is other people will want to be around you more. And you know this because you don't like to be around people that complain all the time. So as you go through the remainder of this week and the next, will you choose to be a glass half full or a glass half empty kind of person? May we all choose the former. Till next time.